first question will be to the resident representative, Ms. Fatmata from UNDP Rwanda. Plastic pollution is a global crisis, and it requires global solutions to protect our health and conserve our biodiversity. What can be done to reduce the quantity of plastics globally?
Thank you so much. Muraho. Amakuru. Omunsi Muiza, Wibidu Chichiji. Your Excellency, the Minister of Environment, distinguished panelists, esteemed colleagues who are here with me, all partners, it's a beautiful day to be able to celebrate World Environment Day. And first, I'm happy the theme is not about no paper, because I have papers. It's No Plastic Day. For us at UNDP, this day is important. And when we discuss a theme on no plastics, it's even more important because it is not an issue of environment. It's an issue that has to do with development, has to do with health, most importantly. So when we are here and joining the government of Rwanda through the ministry and REMA, I'm very excited to be part of this panel is because we recognize the importance of the theme beyond just what is visible. A second thing that is also important is we know the impact this has on ecosystems, on livelihoods, and on inequality. I think it's so important for us to transport ourselves away from just focusing on the theme, but to looking at the bigger picture and the implications for our work. And this is why when a pastor announced to the church that they realized the problem why they're having a leak on the roof, the whole church was despondent, saying, oh my goodness, he's going to ask for more collection. Then the pastor says, we found this problem. Everybody was quiet. And then he announces, we found a solution. Everybody was clapping in the church. And then he decides to explain what is the solution. He says the solution is in your pockets. You do have to make correct contributions. Each and every one of us have a solution, and that's the good news we're bringing today. We are highlighting a key issue on the implications and impact of plastics in our daily lives, each and every one of us, and at the same time, the solutions is in our hands, each and every one of us, and collectively we can make it. I think that's the good news that we are here for today. So 5 things that I think are so important in terms of our response to reduce plastic waste. The first is for us to shift from a linear to circular economy. Some of the things I'm going to talk about are not entirely new, but I think from time to time it's important for us to remind ourselves so that when we live as converted, who are going to go out there and do something different. We should reflect on how we produce, consume, and in particular how we dispose plastics. Second and important is, what are policy innovations in Rwanda and across the world that we can actually bank on? This is why the ban on single-use plastics in Rwanda is absolutely commendable. Happy to also share that I was in Kenya, I think about in 2018, when they also followed suit. I just wish many more countries, especially countries with large populations on the continent, can actually drive a lot more the difference we can make. Consumption and the private sector orientation towards how we use plastics is a third area that I think is also important. Investing in waste systems. And I don't want to forget, when we talk about plastic waste, we have to be able to incentivize alternatives. What are the biodegradable alternatives and what incentives are we producing? Otherwise, if you just ban, that's how we begin to learn how to smuggle, because you don't have alternatives. Final point is, let's leverage on multilateral South-South cooperation. Plastics know no boundaries, and the experience in one country can become very helpful for the other. Those are some of the suggestions that I'll put forward that, again, they're not completely new, but they're a form of reminder for us to go out there and do something different. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. You've talked about 5 points, policy innovation from Rwanda, recently you're in Kenya. What do you think countries can learn from one another from what you just said?
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me yet another floor, because as the saying goes, no man is an island. No human being, no country can fight this battle of plastic waste by themselves. I have decided to limit my stories today, but I couldn't help but remember an interesting conversation between an abroad student who came to visit in his village, and then he found that, of course, he needs to use a canoe to go across. His uncle picks him up and was rowing the canoe, and the guy kept asking and wanted to show off everything he's learned from Harvard. Asked his uncle, who's never been to school, says, "Do you know psychology?" The uncle says, "No." "Do you know biology?" Uncle says, "I have no idea." And then she kept saying, "You've lost half of your life for not knowing this." And then the waves got so bad, the boat was swinging left and right, and the uncle turns and looks at him and says, "Do you know swimology?" And then the boy says, "No." He says, "You have lost the rest of your life." Every one of us have something to bring to the table. Every one of us has something to learn from each other. And this is why the remarkable effort of Rwanda to ban plastics way back in 2008 is both a bold policy, and at the same time, it's required public engagement. That stands out as an example. So if you ask me, how can countries learn from each other? How does that student learn from their uncle? There's a moment in which someone else is going to save you, no matter how much you know. Also, second and most important is, we need to take to scale what works. I think we are not short of many examples of what works in many countries. But why are we not scaling this up? So let's take examples that are already working and let's scale this up. And we do so in different platforms. We have the Global Plastic Action Partnership, which is a key area, but also UNDP supports plastics hubs across Africa. We haven't done that in Rwanda, but Ghana stands out as a very good example where we have a plastic hub and we do recycling of plastics. I'm happy to have seen the video. It's happening, and it doesn't have to be UNDP, but we can actually learn from each other. Finally, and the third point is, regional integration is not only for trade. It's really for our livelihoods in which we all depend on. Again, I repeat, plastics know no boundaries. Let's learn to harmonize policies. Let's start by doing that here in Africa so that other regions in the world can actually learn from us.